Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Hey guys, welcome to Elevated Systems. I'm your host CJ, and today I'm going to finish the Budget Threadripper build. If you haven't seen part 1 or 2 of this series, you can check them out here. Now, I've actually done quite a bit of work on the system since the last video, so let me take you through some of that. I also remember to turn on the camera occasionally as I was working on the build, so I'll splice in that footage along the way. So first, I did prime and paint the panel I made in the back here. Once that was done, I cut, soldered, and installed the LED lighting around the panel. Which with luck will light up once I'm done at the end of this video. Once I got the panel installed came the most time-consuming part of the build, which was stringing each of the 54 custom sleeved wires one at a time. Once they were all in place, I had to trim them each to length, install the male pins on the PSU end and the housings. Now, like I mentioned, I used solid copper wire to wire up the graphics card so I could run the cables back this way. Now, I could have done that with standard wire, but it would sag and just not look as clean. I actually really love how it turned out. When you look at it straight on, it just looks like a couple of wires coming from the GPU, but from above, the look totally changes. Okay, let's keep going. What else did I do? Oh, wait, before I move on, I want to talk about this back panel a bit more. You notice there is a bunch of blank space back here. I guess I can address that. So, as I mentioned in the last video, I was waiting on some SATA data cables that were going to run right here. Well, they arrived and unfortunately they didn't work. Not like they didn't transfer data, I'm sure they were fine cables. The problem was they were backwards. The notch was up and I needed the notch to be down. Anyone lost? So the cable was a 90-degree cable like this, but unlike this notch was at the bottom, not the top. So when I plug it into my SATA ports, it'll actually go in this way and the cable would go out the back of the case. Unfortunately, because the notch was the other way around, when I tried to plug in that cable, the cable came out this way, which really just didn't work. So I solved that by getting a few lateral 90-degree cables and just routed them straight down, and through a little notch I cut out on this supplemental plate on the PSU shroud. Then, in this blank space, I was going to reinstall one of the 2.5-inch drive trays and mount an SSD for use as a scratch drive. But I was able to pick up a second one of these for $99, and since the motherboard can support 3 M.2 drives, I don't need 2.5-inch drives in here, and if there is ever a need, there are still these two mounts here. So, and finally up here, I had reserved for RGB fan controllers, and I was going to run all the fan cables that would be needed up and in here this way. But I ended up going with just a single 3-pack of Lian Li Borelight 12-volt RGB fans, so no need for hubs. Although these fans have an unruly amount of wires and daisy chain connectors, which I promptly chopped off and rewired. Okay, moving on. So I installed the power supply, which is the Corsair RX 850X. It's an 80 plus gold rated, fully modular PSU. I picked this one up at Best Buy for $129. I wasn't even in there for a PSU, but I saw it and I grabbed it. This is a pretty good PSU. It actually is made by Seasonic, which is one of the most reputable PSU manufacturers out there. It has a 0 RPM fan mode, so the fan won't fire up until it hits about a 40% load, which is a rare feature on a gold rated PSU, usually something found in like a platinum or higher. And it comes with enough cables for most any build you can think of. It had the 2 EPS cables I needed, and it comes with 3 or 4 PCIe cables, plus SATA and Molex, yada, yada, yada. Now, installing and wiring everything was made so much easier by the LAN 2 cool case because both sides of the basement open and the drive cage moved back. So I was able to install the PSU, then plug in and tie down each of the cables individually because I could get to it from both sides. Now, onto the drive cage, though, since I mentioned it, while it does slide forward and backwards, it can't be removed completely. Now, I was able to slide it off the rail it's mounted on, so it was free. However, the cage then wouldn't physically fit through any of the openings in the case. Now, not that I wanted to remove it. In fact, I installed the hot swappable backplate, which I got free because I pre-ordered the case from Newegg. Now, I only have one drive installed at the moment up here. But when my daughter needs to expand, she can just slide in another hard drive and not have to worry about wiring it up. I also added the optional RGB strip, which wasn't free. What else? Oh yeah, I consolidated and sleeved the front panel connector. I made a custom cable for the RGB strip that I installed here on the back panel. And like I mentioned before, I don't mess with USB 3 cables, so I got a USB 3 extension cable because there was no discreet way to just plug it in. I tried to just come in from below and plug it in on a 90-degree bend, but it just put too much torque on the connector, and I have no desire to rip connectors off this motherboard. So since I have a lot of the cable exposed, I figured it should be presentable and not like a shiny black cable with random white text on it. So I think that's it. All that's left to do is put in the rest of the components and make this computer whole. So let's get to it. Now, I've talked extensively about these components in part 1, so I'm just going to install them without rambling on about each one again. my God, that's too much thermal paste. Relax. This isn't The Verge. I read the directions. I don't think this is gonna work. Option B. Adapt and overcome. All right, now I just need the required peripherals. Okay, we're ready to fire it up. Now, there's a lot of custom stuff going on, especially back here. But I'm supposed to be the expert here, so I guess if this fails to post, feel free to dislike, unsubscribe, leave mean comments, but I'm confident in my work. So, power supply on. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. PSU is on. Oh, wait, nope, don't go. So the computer's plugged into the extension cord, but the extension cord's not plugged into my UPS like it's supposed to be. So let me just crawl under here for a minute. Okay, now I could edit all that out and like it never happened and just go with take two like it was take one, but I won't. Unless this fails again. But it won't. Boom. Genius. Now, if you were really genius, you would have had it plugged in the first place. Relax. Just watch the glamour shots.
To the rhythm of the violent breeze.
That's it for this one, guys, but it's not the end for this system. The system is up and running, but I still have some cosmetic enhancements to make involving some glass etching and airbrushing Then in 2 weeks, I'm loading this up and driving it 1,000 miles to Indiana to deliver it to my daughter. And I'm going to take you guys along for the trip and the reveal. So be sure to get subscribed for that. In the meantime, you can check out some of my other videos here. I hope to see you in the next one, but until then, I'm CJ and you have a great week.